Hello, welcome to my channel, Edible Thoughts Makes. My name is Stephanie, and this channel is where I share with you my works in progress, finished projects, things I'm cooking up, books I'm reading, funny things my kids may say. My hope is that as you watch this episode and the previous episodes that you find some inspiration along the way. This is episode 67, and we are in the middle of September, year 2021. Before we sat down to chat, I will have inserted a little bit of footage from some nature hiking that we've done recently. The weather is just so nice and perfect for getting outside. This morning, actually, before the sun rose, it was 48 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe. I think that's the lowest it's been probably since May. And it'll warm up to like mid-70s by this afternoon. So it is definitely the time to be dressing in layers, and I love that transitional seasonal weather. It's just kind of fun. And then you get to wear a lot of different things, I guess, throughout the day. Your outfit kind of changes as the temperature changes. But yeah, so today I do have, I think, let's see, a couple of finished projects to share with you, some sewing and some knitting related, and then some works in progress I have to share with you. Let's see. I was going to say, are they all socks? No, not all socks. But what I also wanted to add in today was kind of what's next, what I want to cast on next, what's it next in my queue. And some of them may not be like immediate cast on, some of them are, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, but some of the other ones are just kind of looking into the future, like maybe in the next several months or something like that. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. And yeah, I think that's it for that part of it, as far as like what to expect in this episode. Also, along those same lines, links to the things I talk about will be in the description box below this video. You can click on show more sometimes if it doesn't show all of the information in there. And also, I do fully caption my videos, although from the date of it being published on YouTube, they may not show up right away because it does take a few days sometimes for YouTube to upload its automatic captioning, which then I go in and edit and add descriptions as needed as well. So that's there. And then also, occasionally I will put text and images up on the screen. So I know for some people, if they're like doing other things or like crafting or whatever, if you're not always looking up, that you might miss them. What I will try to do is remember to say, you know, I will show this on the screen, or I'll say like, as you see on this sock here, or something like that, to kind of alert you to look up in case you aren't always looking up. Also, if I say something incorrect and I catch myself while I'm editing, I will put like an asterisk and like correct myself on the screen, but sometimes I don't see that either, and so things will get corrected in the description box below. All right, I had to fix the blinds here. The glare was really bothering me in my glasses. Anyway, but it's still kind of doing that, so hopefully it won't bother me too much, and hopefully it doesn't bother you. Where was I? Oh yeah, so we were talking just about like general intro stuff, and speaking of intro stuff, actually maybe it has nothing to do with intro stuff, but I wanted to talk about something that has been kind of weighing on my mind recently. It's like about people talking about like, I don't know, just general life stuff, either on podcasts or on Instagram, like captions, and apologizing for something that's like not knitting content or not making content, or like apologizing for sharing a photo of food or their children if they don't typically share stuff like that. Yeah, I just feel like, one, we're not one-dimensional people. Like, we are multifaceted human beings, and to feel the need to apologize for sharing other important aspects of our life, or even if it's not important, even if it's just something that you feel like sharing, why should anybody have to apologize for that? It's kind of sad and frustrating that there's that pretense there, or that somebody's like personal, or even not personal, even business account on social media can't feel like they can share whatever they feel like sharing because they're supposed to be some brand, or they're supposed to like have like a grid that is all under the same filter or something. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it, or maybe I'm being unrealistic, or I don't know. It just, to me, it would be more realistic if people were just being people and not like a brand, or not being like a 3x3, like 9 square grid. I just, we're so much more than that. If the internet were to disappear tomorrow, if social media were to disappear tomorrow, who are you, right? Like, I would hope you still feel like you have a sense of identity and you know who you are, and perhaps you have, you know, some of those online friends that you communicate in other ways aside from commenting on their posts, or maybe you don't. I don't know. Like, I guess I just feel like my point is that we are not one-dimensional people. We are multifaceted, and that we should be celebrated that way, and people shouldn't have to apologize for talking about things that aren't specific to like one topic. Does that make any sense? Am I just being strange? I don't know. And then that to say that someone doesn't have to share their life story if they don't feel like it, or share all the personal ongoings of their life to be like a human being. I think as human beings, we understand other human beings also have things going on in their life. Or, you know, when I see people's like Instagram feeds and see their beautiful photos, I don't assume that they don't have piles of mess somewhere, or they don't have dirty laundry, or they don't have like dirty dishes piling up in the sink. I mean, that's just something that happens. That's part of life. And do I want to see your dirty dishes? Not particularly, but if you wanted to share them, okay, that's fine with me too. But I'm not going to assume that just because you don't share a photo of your dirty dishes that you don't have them. Does that make sense? I guess it goes with that saying that seems harmless, but I feel like perpetuates this issue. Like, if you don't share a photo on Instagram, is it even real, or something like that, right? And people kind of joke haha about it. Oh, or did it even happen? Is that how it goes? Anyway, I don't know. It's clearly not a phrase I use very often, because I can't even think of what the phrase is. Although I'm not very good at phrases in general. So, but I just feel like, though it's said in a haha fashion, it kind of perpetuates that. Is harm too strong of a word? I don't know. I guess I feel like it could be kind of harmful, especially if it's affecting people's mental health, thinking that everybody is like perfect, or everybody has it all together. Whereas in reality, I mean, we all have our ups and downs, and maybe what I share is what I feel like I want to remember. And you know, my kids may be screaming in the background, but you don't see that in a photo, do you? And I don't ignore it. I acknowledge that we have our meltdowns, and some days it feels like we can't get out of meltdown city. But I'm not going to share with you like photos of us all falling apart, because I feel like that's for our private personal life, and it's not really fair to my children to like share photos of them falling apart on social media, right? And in general, we're kind of we're a little more private about stuff anyway, so like I just don't share tons of photos of my kids, or maybe any, at least that you would see their faces of on public social media and things like that. But I don't know, food for thought, I guess. Think about it. Think about like the words we say what you mean what you say, and just know that you are like a full real human being, and that you don't need to have some sort of like branding about you. Does that make sense? I feel like everybody has to like, feels like they need to have some sort of brand, or some sort of look, or some sort of like filter that goes with whatever their posts are. But honestly, who cares? Like, doesn't really matter. Like, if it were to disappear tomorrow, you're still here. You're still alive. You're still who you are. Don't let your social media, like, be your identity, I guess, right? Maybe that's my tagline. Don't let social media be your identity. Anyway, now that I can get off that soapbox, it's just something I've been thinking about a lot. I feel like there are people that are getting burnt out on social media, and they write this, you know, post about, goodbye, social media, I'm not going to be here anymore because it's affecting my mental health. And kudos to you for figuring out your boundaries, right? Like, I feel like I'm someone who is very serious, passionate, very like into having boundaries. I feel like that's self-preservation and also a way for you to thrive the way that you see yourself thriving, or that a path towards, continued survival or whatever it may be. And those boundaries may change over time. Like, you setting one set of boundaries in your 20s may be totally different than the boundaries you set in your 30s and 40s, and so on and so forth. And it's not even age related. I just picked some random thing to, base it on. But I just feel like wherever you are in life, it's important to have boundaries and know what to say no to and know what you want to say yes to. So there's my soapbox. And so anyway, it's just something I wanted to bring up, and something I thought was important to think about. And also, when people say, oh, I'll put all my life stuff at the end and you can skip it if you want to, if you're just here for whatever content. I don't know, I feel like that also kind of bothered me, the fact that people would think that your life matters don't matter. I don't know. Like, we are who we are because of all of our experiences day to day. And we draw, like, our moods and everything draws from that. So I can't step into a room and just like forget about who I am and only talk about one specific thing. I mean, I guess I could, but everything related to it is still related to who I am. So yeah, I guess just, think about people as whole people. And if someone has stuff they want to share about your life, maybe listen. It's just, and then it's a way to get to know someone better too, and to know where they're coming from. And I just feel like it relates to everything, and it can be dangerous. Seems like a harsh word to use, but I do feel like it's kind of dangerous to put people in a box, to think like this is all who they are, and then people make assumptions about who they are, or think that once you're this way, you're always this way, and that's obviously not true. So there we go. All right, let's get to talking about some finished projects, shall we? So I guess I'll just briefly say what I'm wearing, because I've actually talked about this already in a previous episode, and I'll link to it in one of the corners up here on the screen if you want to save it for later. But I don't think I've worn it on here yet, so maybe you haven't seen it in action. I have shared some finished project photos of me wearing this on my Instagram account, which is edible.thoughts.makes. I will stand up a little, or not, maybe just get up a little bit higher. So this is the Darren Tee by Jacqueline Cieslak in her Embody collection. And I did make several modifications to it, but the overall general shape and look of it is the same. And I knit mine in Malabrigo Sucero, and that is well, now I don't even remember the details. There's linen in it. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it in my book here real quick. Here it is. Okay. So, did I write down what it is? Linen, merino, and silk. That is the yarn blend. And I knit mine out of 2 skeins of that, and I color blocked it because I wanted to use that yarn. I already had it, and I only had one of each color. So, and I had a blue too, but I felt like the blue would be too different from these two. And then I kind of liked how it was is it monochromatic, two-toned kind of look. So there's this orange, and then there's this gold color, and they both have a nice drape and shimmer to it. And then I made mine short-sleeved. But yeah, I said I wasn't going to go into details, and now I'm going into details. Anyway, I'm going to stop right there. It's really comfortable. It's a great layering piece. The scoop neck is scoopier than I would typically wear, so I wear a tank underneath, but it's very comfortable that way. I'm already thinking that in the kind of a spooky October time, I can wear this over a black dress. I have a black short sleeve dress, and since these sleeves are a little bit longer, the sleeves on my dress are shorter so they won't poke out. And then that one, I can't remember if it's crew neck We're kind of between a crew and scoopy neck, so that'll look pretty cool. So I'm excited about layering that piece. Yeah, so let's see, which first finished project shall we talk about? Oh, well, I was debating how to like share some of these with you today because I've got sewing and knitting projects to share. Let's see, I guess let's just, well, as I'm fiddling around down here, you're probably wondering what in the world I am doing, but I guess I will share this finished project with you first in order to share the rest of the stuff. You ready? Look at this gigantic bag. Here's the side. Isn't it beautiful though? Oh, I love it. So, this bag was supposed to be a little deeper, but since I don't follow a pattern and I just had like a brain fart, is that what you call it? Brain fart? The bottom piece, this linen, this purple linen down here, I accidentally only cut one piece. Like I was supposed to cut two pieces of the same dimensions so that it would be like this big and then like a separate box bottom section, or I can't remember if I was going to cut out the box bottom part later or add on a rectangle on the bottom. But anyway, so I'm like missing half of it, right? So this should have come down to, you know, several inches down and the whole thing would have been a little more square instead of this long rectangle. But guess what? I love it anyway. So the last episode I had mentioned I wanted to try doing like this drawstring on the top. That way your entire like top part doesn't just cinch in. And it's a good thing I tried it on this one because it's so shallow that if it cinched in, it would just end up in this weird like blobby shape, I think. Well, there was a little adventure with this top part too because I don't know what the ratio is that I'm supposed to do for like the width, depth, whatever of it. And so my first attempt, it was actually not deep enough. So then when I cinched it together, the edges just got kind of like, I don't know, wobbly, wonky looking. So then I had to add in another piece. So maybe you can see the seam here. And I just try to line it up as much as possible, but obviously you're going to lose some in the seam allowance, so it can't line up exactly. But I think I did a pretty good job. So yeah, I had to add a few more inches, and now I think it actually works out really well. So I can still cinch, which gives it some height, right, depending on how much you have in there, but it closes it up without pulling all of it in, which means I don't lose space from the actual tote part of the bag, which is pretty cool. So I guess that's my first finished project. This top fabric is from a Spoonflower fat quarter, and I believe I just used the entire fat quarter. I just cut it in half horizontally, and those are my two panels here. But I just love this print. It is so fun. It's like paper collage-y flowers. Here, I'll give you a close-up, 1 second. Isn't that just so beautiful? And as you may know, purple and pink I just love, so yeah, it worked out really well. Okay, so I guess that's my first finished project to share with you, and I will share with you the stuff inside. So I think maybe I'll just use that bag for like my episode makes or something, so then throughout the week or weeks or however long I go between episodes, I can just throw everything in there that I want to talk about, so I don't forget. But I feel like that's similar to how I pack for when, you know, I used to travel. I would have my suitcase out, and then as I remembered things, especially with the kids, you always have like little things that you don't want to forget. I just kind of chuck it all in there, and then, you know, a few days before, I will go through and sort it out and like make sure everything is packed neatly and things like that. Anyway, so I have a bunch of stuff in here. I have like 4 smaller project bags and bag in a bag in a bag. If you watched last episode, you know I just really like bags. Anyway, okay. So, first up, let's talk about these. Isn't that beautiful? I love this color combination so much. Let me pull up my project page in here. I use a dot notebook for my projects. So I just kind of decorate the front how I want to. I like that there's a clear protective covering on it in case of, you know, spills or whatever. And then I use tape flags to mark my projects. So maybe things that are finished on top, works in progress on the side, or whatever the case may be. And then they're color coded for different things. So I have red ones for like test knits and things like that. So this is the Dots and Dashes socks by Amy Sure, and I test knit these. They, depending on when this video is published, the pattern may be published that same day or maybe the day after, so just kind of keep an eye on Amy's website for that, or not. Well, you can look on her website, but also on her Instagram, and I will link to her information in the description box below. I'm just getting these socks on blockers here so that you can see them a little bit better. Are you ready? I love them. Ta-da! Aren't they beautiful? I did share some finished photos on my Instagram, so if you want to see more, go take a look there. And then if you follow the Dots and Dashes socks hashtag, you'll see a lot of beautiful color combinations knit up by all the different testers. So this pattern comes in, I believe it's 4 sizes, and I knit the size A, so the smallest size. And something you may notice about this one is the gauge is a little bit different from like quote-unquote traditional sock knitting, which isn't really traditional, but like your typical sock yarn, I guess, maybe that you use. This uses slightly heavier fingering weight yarn, but also yarn that might just bloom a little bit bigger. So the yarns I used are Sweet Georgia Tough Love Sock, which is not the same yarn that Amy used for her sample. However, I did get the same gauge as her. So that was pretty cool. So then I ended up using the same needle sizes. So for the main fabric, I used a US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle. And then for the color work sections, I used actually a US 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter needle. And I usually use a US 3 when I'm knitting like DK weight socks, but I like those to be at like a denser gauge. So when you're knitting color work, you really need to find your own tension and your own like best fabric, I guess, for that. Oftentimes people can pull their floats too tight, and then you can, like, the fabric can pucker, or also, I mean, you don't want it too tight, otherwise you can't pull it on your foot. So I'll give you a closer look here. There are these really cute bobbles on here, and I learned a new bobble technique. I've learned so many different bobble techniques, so that's really fun. And then her folded cuff is a little bit different than the way I do mine. There's actually a little secret inside that makes it extra squishy, and I'm not sure if I should share that because I don't know if she'll share it on her like promo of it, so you'll just have to wait and see on that. I don't like to leak anything like about patterns if the designer hasn't said their own thing yet, because I don't know, I don't feel like that's really fair. But yeah, I learned a new technique on the heel here. You can see the beautiful texture on the heel flap. And there's color work on the toes, and I actually did this a little bit different. So in an initial version of the pattern, this part had you still knit in one of the contrast colors, but it's actually supposed to be the main color there. So mine maybe looks a little bit different from what the final pattern is, but I like it anyway. I think it looks kind of cool color blocked right at the toe. If you're wondering, so the yarns I use, they're Sweet Georgia Tough Love Sock. That's an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. It's a Canadian company, and it comes at 425 yards for 115 grams, which is 3.7 yards per gram, which is definitely a heavier weight fingering, and I really like this plump round base. I ended up using, let's see, 53 grams of the main color, 13 grams of the green, and 9 grams of the teal. And I followed the directions as written. So Love these socks. They fit really well. I actually have some like tealy Keens that I've had forever, and they go really well with these. I'm going to show you, actually speaking of floats, I'm actually going to show you the inside of the sock to give you an idea of what I'm talking about when we are talking about like having even floats, because I think my floats turned out really well, if I do say so myself. See how even that is? Yeah, I'm pretty proud of my floats. And then the more even your floats are, well, I guess not even, but if you keep them loose, but not too loose, because if they're too loose in the front, your stitches will look kind of wonky. But if they're even, tension throughout, they will still have stretch, but not be like stuck anywhere. So, very happy with how those turned out. So these next pair of socks, I would like to share with you. I actually feel like I probably shouldn't talk about them too much because they are also a test knit and they still have probably a couple weeks until their release, but I will show you them real quick. These are the Forest Trail Socks by Natasha of Northern Knits and Purl. Aren't they beautiful? I just love how they turned out. I love, 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 love. And as I mentioned in my last episode, these are mohair socks. So they're not all mohair, but I held Little Lion Head Knits by Colleen, her mohair in apple green, and I held it with Mondim in, I think the colorway number is 112 in olive, and the colors matched up really well. If you want to see them separately, go back to my last episode. And they just come out with the most like light, cozy fabric, and because they are a DK weight sock, they knit up relatively quickly, and I love them. They're so cozy, so comfortable, great fit. I didn't adjust anything. I didn't change anything to the pattern, and I just love the simple detailing there. They're called Forest Trail Socks, and it just totally reminds me of those old railroad tracks that are turned into nature trails, and you have like the bumps from the railroad tracks, and the color I chose just reminds me of all like the moss and the lichen and the smell of a forest. So keep an eye out on Natasha's Instagram account for the release date on these socks, and check out the Forest Trails Socks hashtag to see what the other testers are coming up with. Alright, I think we're gonna go on to works in progress, but before we start that, I would love to take a minute to ask you what you are drinking, if you are drinking anything today. It might be morning, mid-afternoon, lunchtime, evening for you. In my mug, I have some mint tea. Okay, so my first work in progress I'd like to share with you is in this apple bag that I shared with you last time. I sewed this up using some apple canvas fabric that I've had for a long time, and I love it. It makes me so happy, and it's perfectly September. So these are the Spring Rain Socks by Natasha Northern Knits and Purl. I test knit this pattern for her back in April of this year, and since then I really wanted to knit a shorter version, and so mine is knit up in polar bear yarn. Here's the tag on the screen. I'll flip it over so you can see the details of it. And this one is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. It is a sock set named Campfire, and it was a mystery sock set. And I thought I might finish it for this week. I mean, I didn't have to, but I thought I might, but I didn't because I've been working on other things too. But I did finish one sock, so I'll share that with you. I have been knitting my socks on 9-inch circulars. It's my preferred method. It's not for everybody. Some people's hands get really cramped up with, you know, so many stitches on a little set of needles, and I actually really love it. I don't grip my needles super tight. I wouldn't say I'm like a tight knitter or a loose knitter. I don't know, I'm just a knitter. But yeah, I don't find myself gripping it very tight. it's comfortable for my hands. And so I will cast on with the 9-inch circulars, knit through, well, the heel here, I think I did switch to 32-inch circulars just because it's like a regular heel flap. Oh, no, I didn't. I didn't do that. I switched to double pointed needles. So I like to do double pointed needles on a heel flap because there's less like cable and stuff around. So the instep stitches will stay on the 9-inch circular, and then I'll use 2 double pointed needles to knit the heel flap. And then I'll do the heel turn still on the double pointed needles, and then when I knit back across so that my stitches are on the left side, or not stitches, so that my working yarn starts on the left side for picking up the gusset, I'll pick up my 9-inch circular needle, knit across that heel turn so I get on the other side. And then after I cut the contrast yarn, I will then pick up, for the gusset using the main color with the 9-inch circular. Got it? So I will share it with you here. So I still have this sock. Last time I think I shared it with you, I had just picked up for the gusset, and I don't think I had finished the gussets yet. I think I was just like in the gusset zone. So here is the one sock that isn't finished yet. These socks are beautiful, the spring rain socks. I don't think I mentioned that. And so you've got a little cuff here. They are cuffed down. You've got a beautiful cuff cable detail there. You've got a very interesting textured heel flap. And I think someone was asking like what's the name of that heel flap, but I don't think Natasha knew either. Maybe she should name it something. I tried a quick Googling to see what different heel flaps are out there, but I think it's something that I might just have to look at in a book because I couldn't find anything. But I do love how neat the edges are when you pick up for the gusset. Look at that. Check that out. Look how clean and neat and tidy that is. I love it. So, beautiful heel flap. I've worked through the gusset. I'm on the foot. And I like to use light bulb stitch markers to mark every 10 rounds. It just helps me keep track of where I am. And also, because I'm knitting my socks 2 at a time on their own needles, they will be identical when I'm done, or near identical. And I just find that to be a much more accurate method than just measuring with a ruler. And if you know your gauge, you can still figure out how many inches you are at or will be at, post blocking by counting out your rounds. So I've got maybe, let's see, 10, 20, 30. I think I have 18-ish more rounds of the foot to go before I start the colorwork section. And I will show you my other sock. I actually just finished that one because I was kind of on a roll, and I also wanted to just get that one done. It was good motivation. The other color here, the green, it's a beautiful green. And that was for the heel, and these are all naturally dyed, which is amazing. And the second contrast color is this beautiful yellow. Look at the twist on that. Beautiful yellow. So, let me show you the finished sock. Are you ready? Isn't that beautiful? So this is my fall version of the spring rain socks. My spring ones were like a sky blue and a cantaloupe orange. And this one I used 3 colors because I wanted to use the whole sock set. So I've got green in the heel, my main color is this beautiful brown, and then my toe and colorwork section is this yellow, which reminds me of like the aspen and the birch leaves changing colors in the fall. Anyway, loving these socks. They will definitely be done by next time. I don't know if I'll show them again, but I'll probably just share a finished photo on my Instagram. So if you are curious how these look when they are finished as a pair, I mean the other one just will look the same as this one, but I'll block them and stuff, which will kind of even out this color work just a little bit. But yeah, I'll share that on my Instagram. So if you're curious on what they look like then, and maybe I'll share photos of them on my feet, maybe not, I don't know. Go check them out there. I thought about sharing my Halloween stripey socks again, but I mean, I have done some stripes on them. They are kind of like a random knit as you go one. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll just share with you next time, but in my wishy-washiness, I thought I would just maybe share them real quick. And they are in another project bag that I had sewn, as I talked about last time. And here is my yarn. It is a self-striping yarn, and I did start at the same color for each one so that I would have matching socks. And I did a 60 stitch Old Norwegian cast on 9-inch circulars, and I did 4 color stripes in the cuff for knit 2 purl 2 ribbing, and then I'm just doing stockinette for the rest. And aren't these super fun? I just love how the colors are coming out. They're very autumnal. And then so last time I had said I didn't know who the dyer was because I bought this in a D-stash, and a friend reached out to tell me what they are. And they are Zombies Walk at Midnight by Rock and String Creations. How perfect that it is a Halloween themed yarn. And these are my Halloween socks. I mean, look at it. That's pretty cool, right? So I'm pretty close on the striping. I think this one has an orange one and this one doesn't have that orange one. I think it's on like the grayish one with the red speckling in it still. But they are matching up really nicely, and I'll just keep going until I feel like putting in a heel, and we'll go from there. So I love how these are turning out. Super fun. That's all I'm going to say on those. Now, the last work in progress that I would like to share with you today is one that you'll probably see for quite some time. It is the famous or infamous half and half triangles wrap free pattern by Purl Soho. And I have it in this big bag that I made that matches the little sock project that I made. Actually, I made this one first, I think. I think I did. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? I just love the floral thermos and the teapots and the teacups. This is a Spoonflower fat quarter fabric too. They have sales for 50% off fat quarter fabrics throughout the year, and so sometimes I'll browse the fabric patterns every once in a while and then put some in my cart, and then when there's a sale I will purchase a few of them. So, oh, and then I did a denim boxed bottom, and I think this denim was from, once upon a time where I could browse remnant bins at fabric stores and purchase like the remnants for what, 75% off or something, and they're just like, they're usually less than a yard, but that's plenty for what I need them for anyway. So here is mine, and last time I think I had what, like 10 grams left, I think, of the second skein of the first color. Well, since then I had joined in my third skein, but only used like I think 20 something grams of the third skein, and so my color change actually came up much quicker than I thought it would. Yeah, I used 26 grams of the third skein. Now the skeins I've gotten have all been more than 100 grams, so I think like 104 was the smallest one, and 110 is my biggest one. So they are definitely generous skeins, and I have my needles here put in a double pointed needle case that I had sewn just so it doesn't like poke around other things. And I don't think I would lose my stitches because they're kind of bunched all up on like the center part, but I don't know, it still makes me nervous. I do not like dropping stitches. So I am on my second color. I'm so excited. I'm knitting mine in Rose Granite and Rosewood Pink. And now that I've started my second triangle, I'm understanding the construction of, like, the direction of how you're knitting on this wrap so much better. Now, I don't think I'll be able to get, like, a very good, I don't know, I won't be able to see it very well in this frame, so I'll insert a picture here on the screen, which I just still don't think you'll be able to see it very well because it's kind of bunched up so that you can see it in the frame, so maybe it's not really helpful, but sorry. So the first color is the Rose Granite, which is like a browny gray with like a pinkish tone to it. And then the second one is more of a dusty, deeper pink. So you basically, if you aren't making one or curious as to like the construction of it, you cast on with the size, you cast on with the number of stitches that determines your size. So that is one of the edges, one of the borders. So this one here on the bottom where my face is the cast on edge. And then as you do short rows, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, making your first triangle. And then when you are finished with all of those short rows, you resolve them by knitting them with that same color, your first color, all the way across. And then, hopefully I'm getting this right, you cut it. And then you knit with your second color all the way across twice. And then when you come back, you are going to start this short row magic again. And this time your triangle starts small and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I have already woven in my ends, so you can't actually see where I started. But I'm pretty sure my ends were here on this corner where this join is. So I would have started here, knit all the way across, knit all the way back, and then started my short row magic again. I am slipping the first 2 stitches for a neater edge here. Now the first time I did with the first color, I slipped 3 stitches. So my triangles maybe won't be exactly the same, but it's 1 stitch difference. But I like the 2 stitch look better, I think. Here it is where the 3 stitches slipped. And it just means I have a little more of an edging there. And let's see if I can compare it to the 2 stitch slipped. Okay, I'm gonna hold this up here and try not to drop any stitches. So the deeper pink has the 2 stitches slipped, and then the lighter color has 3 stitches slipped. It's not a huge difference. Again, it's 1 stitch difference on fingering weight yarn, but I don't know, it makes a difference to me. So maybe if I hold it up right on, maybe it'll be more visible. Maybe, maybe not. Well, I think it's visible. I don't know if it's showing on camera though. So that's how this is going. If you don't like knitting garter flat, maybe not the best project for you. I did cast on for the larger size, which is 260 stitches, and the smaller size is 190 stitches. And I think for the next one that I knit, I'm going to cast on somewhere in between. And that way I only use 2 full skeins of each color instead of breaking into a 3rd skein of each color and only using like a 1/4 of it. I do have plans for the remaining yarn for that. I'm planning to do like a striped pullover or a striped cardigan. I think if I do the pullover, I'm going to follow the Tin Can Knits Flax Light pattern. It's also a free pattern, but I'm not for sure yet, so we'll have to see. And yeah, so I am really enjoying it. I do enjoy knitting garter flat and knitting stockinette in the round, basically just knit stitches all of the time. So it is an enjoyable knit for me, and it's something I don't have to think too hard about. I switched the wrap and turns to German short rows, which is my preferred short row method. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. It's something I can knit on like while my kids are reading at night, so that I can still help with hard words and not have to be counting and not feel like I can't be present for them, but I can still be doing something that I enjoy doing as well. So yeah, this is a really, really enjoyable project for me. Hence, I have yarn for more of them. Yeah, I love it. And oh, the yarn label, it's called Linen Quill, and the yarn is 50% Highland wool, 35% alpaca, 15% linen. And I love it. It's my first time working with it, and I really enjoy it. I get the hype, and I really enjoy it. So if you are super, super sensitive to anything that's like potentially scratchy, I don't know what to tell you. I don't find myself super sensitive, but I don't really know how you like really gauge that anyway. Like I don't typically knit with what some people would call rustic wool. Although I have something to share with you that came in the mail that for a future project that I think you would probably consider, or not you, but somebody might consider rustic wool, but I'm giving it a shot. So anyway, this is an ongoing project. I told myself, you know, it'd be nice to have a mini goal of knitting a skein per month. If I get quicker than that, great. If I don't, that's okay too. It's more so that I am just really looking forward to wearing it and wrapping myself up with it. And it's going to be huge, so this is definitely more of a blanket or schlanket size, shawl plus blanket. And you do wear it with the triangle folded in half, so it's double layered. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. I love the colors. It makes me so happy. It's like calm and happy, and I just love it. Let me put that away, and let's talk about the next thing. I think the next things that I want to talk about are, well, maybe I should continue on this half and half wrap business here, since we're in that mindset. And then I will tell you about a couple other things that I am looking forward to casting on soon, or maybe not soon. Soon is relative, right? Like maybe October, maybe next week. I don't know. It depends. If I get those spring rain socks cast off this week or this weekend, which will probably happen, then that'll free up needles for future cast-ons. Okay, so look at this bag. I love it so much. I really wanted a purple and black bag. I think just the changes in the weather and spooky season upon us. And okay, let me put in a disclaimer real quick. I do not do spooky. So for as much as I love fall and autumn and like the cooler weather and, you know, all of that stuff, I don't do spooky. Like, I'm a scaredy cat. I am scared of so many things. I get freaked out easily. I can't even watch, and this has been like my whole life, I can't even watch like previews of scary movies, or sometimes scary movies people think are funny, and I don't think they're funny. Like, I'm that kid that got nightmares all the time, and my imagination is just too vivid, and things just stick in my head, and yeah, I can't do spooky. Now, I love this because I don't think it's spooky. I feel like it's definitely like fall and darker, but not scary at all, right? I mean, come on, they're gold deer. Isn't that beautiful? I don't know if the shimmer is being captured on the camera. I'll try to shimmy the bag so it kind of shimmers, maybe. And then I use linen for the, I guess you could say accents, or is this main fabric the accent? I don't know. And then the bottom is canvas for the box bottom. And then I have my cotton webbing, and then my drawstring. And since this bag sits a little bit taller than, you know, that first one I shared with you, if I pull this shut, like, it's not going to completely disappear, right? Like, I lose some space on the top, but it's not so shallow that my entire bag's gone. So the inside of this bag, I used this gray and black bird fabric, because if you've been following for a while, you know I love birds. And then I also have that same canvas in here for pockets. And then I like to add another tab here, and I have like a gold hexagon, and that's for progress keepers. And you might be curious as to what is on the bottom. And I said I was going to continue the half and half triangles wrap conversation. You ready? It's so beautiful. So I had been waiting for a sale, and they had a sale, and granted, a lot of stuff was already sold out, and I'm not sure if they're restocking with new colors, if they're restocking old colors coming up, but I had been eyeing different color combinations and like putting together colors, just like creating little collages with the colors. And this is autumn to me, right? Look at this. This deep plummy purple, and there's actually like shades of different purple. It's almost kind of heathered looking. And this one is called Dark Iris, which is perfect because we grow iris in our garden. And then this one is called something chestnut red. And I've been eyeing this color for some time too. It's kind of a more browny red. And together, I mean, I love it. I just love it. So my plan is to cast on somewhere between the 190 and the 260 stitches. I'm thinking 220 stitches should do the trick. But even that, I'm thinking maybe I could go a little bigger if I wanted to. Now it also depends if I plan on using a US 3 needle or a US 4 needle. I'm currently knitting them on a US 3 needle, which is what the pattern calls for. I've not measured my gauge. I feel like I'm no good at measuring gauge for garter because it's like squishy, right? So it like moves around. How do you count your stitches? It's not like stockinette where it's like flat, flat. Anyway, I don't really know. I don't really measure gauge for wraps anyway, I mean, unless it's a test knit or something. But this one I feel like it's a little trickier to measure how much yarn you will use per stitch because of the construction. Like I guess I could still measure like how many grams or how many stitches and how many stitches it needs to complete certain sections, but it just seems a little more complicated than I'm interested in figuring out. So wing it, right? Ask questions and then wing it? I don't know. So yeah, we'll see. I really do want to finish the first one before I start the second one. That way I have, that way I finish something. On the other hand, since this is slightly different, maybe, I mean, it's different colors and I'll be casting a different number of stitches, maybe it's okay. I don't know. Next episode, you may see whether or not I cast on another one. Are you knitting the half and half triangles wrap? And if so, what colors are you using? Are you knitting more than one? Is one like more than enough for you? More than enough garter for you? Or are you like itching to cast on as many color combinations as possible? There are some people using other yarns for their half and half triangles wrap because you don't, I mean, like any project, you don't have to use the yarn that's called for in the pattern. So along with the sale, I bought another color combination. Now this one is my spring summer one. So the big one I'm knitting on right now is kind of autumnal winter because I feel like a lot of people think of winter colors as like icy blues and grays, and that's just not what I'm drawn to as much. So what I'm knitting on right now is my like autumnal winter one, okay? And then the chestnut red and the iris are my like deep autumn ones. And then my spring summer, are you ready? Really spring, I guess, because, well, I mean, in the climate that I'm in, you kind of have sweater weather year round, although not this year because of all of the heat waves, but if that continues, then who knows. But like, a lot of people in March have already thawed all their snow, but we're not out of the clear for like frost until maybe mid-May. So, are you ready for my spring summer one? Ta-da! Now I'm not sure how these colors are going to show up on screen because I have to say that this honey pink did show up on their, I feel like showed up pretty accurate from their website, and I do love that it's not like a flat color. Like it doesn't look as heathered as the other ones because of the linen is lighter, right? And this color is lighter, but it's not like flat either. I feel like I see a little bit of variation, which I love. I'll hold it up a little closer here. So this honey pink is like slightly kind of yellow, natural, camely, maybe? I don't know if I'm describing that very well. Now, here's the one that was a little different from what I was expecting. So on their website, it looks lighter, almost like a pastel peachy color, and this is the peachy pink. And I don't see as much pink in it, but it's like almost fluorescent peach to me. Or like, not as much as like bright flamingo. Like bright flamingo, I feel like it's highlighter orange to me. But this peachy pink is definitely brighter than I was expecting, not in a bad way. But it's getting closer to neon than pastel. So I don't even know how it's gonna read on the camera here, but on camera it's reading much more pink than it does in person. I feel like this is just really hard color to capture. Like I feel like I've knit with other yarns that have some sort of similarity to this, and no matter how you adjust your like white balance, it just, I don't know, it just isn't accurate. So I'm showing it on screen. Not sure it's actually doing the right color because it's showing a lot pinker than it is. It is definitely like a peachy orange color. And I mean, I love it. I think it's gonna go really well. So this is kind of like my pop of color with my neutral, and I think this is gonna be so nice. I'm really looking forward to it. And the other thing is I was picking colors that I can wear with anything. Like I wanna be able to throw it on with anything. Like what good is it to me if I have one wrap that only goes with one outfit? Not good for me. In fact, I can see this with the outfit I'm wearing now. Like my Darren tee, I have over a green tank, and I have like striped linen pants. Oh yeah, I'll kind of stand up here and hold my yarn up with my outfit. I mean, what do you think, right? It's pretty good. So yeah, anyway, that's my haul there. I don't usually do like yarn haul videos or like acquisition sections or anything because I don't know, not my thing. But with these project plans in the works, it just kind of made sense to share them. So yeah, I think this spring summer one will be a great one to maybe even cast on in March for the first day of spring when we are still under like several feet of snow, because we'll still have several months of wintry weather to go, and that will be, I think, something nice to have on the needles. All right, so a project that I am excited about that I probably won't cast on until October is out of this Moon and Turtle pattern book by Kiyomi and Sachiko Bergen, and I'm so excited about this. It's like tons of color work that's fresh and modern, and I just love how the book has come together. The two designers, they are twins and they are from Canada. They are 4th generation Japanese Canadians, and as you know, representation is really important to me, and I love their designs. I'm really excited about this book. Another thing I really appreciate about this book is that they give you access to the digital versions of the patterns, which means you can print out those patterns, highlight, cross out, whatever you need to do on the paper, which I always do, and I don't like doing that to a book. Plus, because the book is bound this way, not spiral, it won't lay flat, and that makes it a little bit trickier for me anyway. So having the paper version is great, but I don't print in color, so being able to see like the beautiful socks. I'm trying to show you these socks without showing you the pattern there. Isn't that so cool? I'm really excited. And the pattern that I am going to be knitting is the Cordy pullover, and it's a colorwork yoke sweater. As you may know from before, I like to knit my colorwork or any sweaters in the round, top down, from like a round yoke. And look at this. These are the designers modeling their sweaters. Now, a lot of times when I knit a pattern, I don't typically use the yarn suggested. I just use either whatever I have or, I don't know, something else. However, this pattern uses a new to me yarn called Peace Fleece Worsted, and it's 75% Navajo Rambouillet and domestic fine wool, 25% mohair, 200 yards for 100 grams. And I don't know, I was intrigued and I thought I would give it a try. And it came with this burlap sack. And I didn't realize that they are run out of Harrisville Designs in New Hampshire. So when the box arrived, that's what was on it. And it was like, don't use any scissors, you know, I mean, I tend to use keys to open up my boxes that I know have yarn in them, but I thought that was a great thing to have as a sticker on their box. And it also came with this card, this postcard, Peace Fleece, Wool with Purpose. And I'll read to you what it says on the back. We work to support pastoral communities that have been historically in conflict with the U.S. Currently, we are working with Navajo ranchers to offer fair market prices for the Rambouillet sheep wool raised by families in the Navajo Nation. Our yarn is made of this wool blended with a domestic fine wool and mohair for strength. We love what we do and we hope you will too. So, the yarn that I purchased was for this Cordy sweater, and unfortunately my main color, which was a deep purple, was out of stock. So they sent all my other colors, but without my main color I can't actually make my sweater. So I called and we got things straightened out, and I had actually ordered one extra contrast color. I used 3, but I ordered 4 because I wasn't sure on the contrast for 2 of them. So what I'm actually going to do is change one of those contrast colors that I had to my main color. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing. This color is Shaplova mushroom, I think. Yeah, Shaplova mushroom, and it's like a browny red, brown red color. Can you tell that I like brown red? I think the chestnut red was similar, huh? But it has all these flecks in there of almost tweedy looking, which is kind of cool. So this is actually going to be my main color. Now my 3 contrast colors are chestnut, which is this nice warm brown, morning dove, which is almost a tweedy looking grayish purple, and then Antarctic white, which is a cream color. So the pullover has very high contrast, and so I need to figure out what colors I'm assigning to what. I'm thinking that the most graphic sections, like with the stripes, like they have it in like I think black and white there. I probably want to use my Antarctic white plus chestnut. And then my other color, which on here is kind of like the zigzaggy chevron on at the end of the yoke. So that, for me, I guess, will be Morning Dove, which will then go into my main color. So I need to look at it a little more carefully, but I'm pretty sure that's how I'm going to do it, so that I still get high contrast and everything, but like high contrast but subtle at the same time, because my main color and this chestnut is a little bit closer in tone. Is tone the right word? Tone, or like light darkness-ish. There's not high contrast between these 2 colors. So I just need to double check and see how I want to do that. But I'm pretty sure the way I just told you how I'm going to assign my colors is what I'm going to do. So not casting on that yet because I'm waiting for the rest of my main color to come. But I am liking this. This is my first time working with Rambouillet, and it feels very dry and it doesn't feel itchy. But they also say that once you block it, it really blooms and softens up, so I'm looking forward to that as well. But I think this is gonna turn into a really nice color work sweater. I'm really looking forward to that. With a lot of color work, it's good to use yarns that are slightly toothier so that your fabric kind of meshes better together versus like superwash. They are meant to not really like be toothy and stick together, so your fabric can still be beautiful, but it's just different. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Okay, so I had 2 more things up in my queue that I was going to talk about today, but you know what? I think I'm going to save that for next time because I've talked a lot today. And I don't know how long this episode is, but it's probably pretty long, and I don't like it going too long just because, well, it's kind of a lot of information. So I think I will save the other ones for next time. I may have cast on, I may not have, who knows. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you are doing well. I hope you find moments that you can just like take a breather. I know for me that can be really important, and it isn't even that I'm like go, go, go all the time, but just to let my mind slow down, close my eyes, count to 10, whatever it is that I need to do. Maybe sit outside, listen to the birds, maybe go pick some flowers, or, you know, just something to really be present and be in the moment. And those things really ground me. It may not be the same for you, so I hope you find time to do something that grounds you as well. And I just feel like it's so important as part of our like daily well-being. So I guess it's a good time to remind you that you are doing great. I hope you are doing really well. Cheers to being creative. Take care.